19 years. That's how long I spent behind bars for a crime I never committed. 19 long years of silence, of cold nights, of waiting for something to change, but nothing ever did. Every morning, I opened my eyes in a small gray cell. The walls were blank. The door was thick and heavy, always closed. My world was four walls and a steel bed. No sky, no sun, no freedom. I had no idea what day it was most of the time. Only that time kept moving without me. In prison, every day is the same. Wake up, eat, sit, sleep, repeat. I couldn't see my family. I couldn't walk in the open air. I was alive, yes, but not really living. I was breathing, but not existing. My voice grew small. My dreams faded. My heart became quiet. And after a while, I started to forget what life felt like, until one day, everything changed. It was just another morning, or at least I thought it was. I was sitting on the edge of my bed when I heard the sound of keys. The door opened. A guard stepped in. His face didn't look like it usually did. He wasn't angry. He wasn't cold. He looked soft, calm, different. "You can go home now," he said. I blinked. My heart stopped for a second. Go home? I thought I had heard him wrong. My lips trembled as I asked, "Why?" My voice was weak, as if it hadn't been used in years. It probably hadn't. "There was a mistake," he said. "You did nothing wrong." I didn't know what to say. My mind couldn't understand. My heart beat faster and faster, like it was trying to catch up with time. I stood up slowly. My legs shook. Was this real? Was I dreaming? Could I really be free? He didn't say anything more. He just nodded, and I walked out of the cell, out of the darkness I had lived in for nearly 2 decades. The prison was big, but I knew every part of it, every wall, every crack in the floor, every shadow. As I passed the other prisoners, some looked sad, some looked angry, some looked confused, but no one said a word. They just watched me go. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My body felt light, like air. My mind was racing. My hands were still shaking. At the front gate, another guard handed me my old clothes. I hadn't seen them in 19 years. They were too small now. The fabric was rough and they smelled like dust and time. But I put them on anyway. What choice did I have? Another man gave me some money. "Good luck out there," he said, like it was the end of a movie. I didn't even know how to reply. I nodded and walked toward the gate. The big metal door opened slowly, creaking like it hadn't moved in years. And then I stepped outside. The sun hit my face like a surprise. It was warm and golden, and I had to close my eyes for a moment. I hadn't felt the sun in so long. The wind brushed across my cheeks. It smelled like trees, like cars, like life. Everything felt so big, so fast, so loud. People walked past me. Cars drove in every direction. I saw buses, trains, stores, tall buildings, bright screens, children running and laughing. I didn't recognize any of it. It was like waking up in a different world, a world that had kept going while I was stuck in pause. I just stood there for a while, not knowing what to do. My legs were weak. My stomach was empty. I had no phone, no ID, no family waiting for me. I had nothing but my freedom. And freedom, I learned, is both beautiful and terrifying. I looked at my reflection in a shop window. My beard was long. My hair was wild. My clothes looked like they came from another century. I didn't even recognize myself. Was this really me? I touched my face. I needed to see who I had become. I needed a mirror. I needed food. I needed to sit down and think. I walked slowly along the street, every step a reminder that I was free but not safe. I passed by cafes, parks, shops. I heard music I didn't know. Saw people doing things I didn't understand. Everything had changed. I found a small cafe on the corner. People were laughing, sipping coffee, typing on glowing phones. I wanted to go inside, but I was scared. I didn't know how to order. I didn't know what to say. But I was hungry. I needed something. So I took a deep breath, pushed open the door, and stepped inside. The smell of coffee was strong. The air was warm. I walked up to the counter. A young man behind it smiled at me. "What would you like?" he asked. I froze. His words were clear, but my brain felt slow. I looked at the sandwiches behind the glass and pointed at one. Then I pointed at the coffee pot. He nodded and gave me a price. I fumbled through my money with shaking hands. He gave me my food, and I took a seat in the far corner. I looked at the sandwich. I smelled the coffee. I took a bite. It was real, warm, fresh, full of flavor. Not like prison food. Not like anything I had tasted in years. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, I ate as a free man, and it felt incredible. People around me were busy, talking, typing, scrolling. No one looked at me. I was invisible, but I didn't care. I held my coffee and closed my eyes. This was the start of my new life. But as I walked out of the cafe, the joy began to fade. I had no home, no phone, no map, no direction. I didn't even know where to go next. I wandered the streets looking for something, anything that felt familiar. I passed by clothing stores, but I had no money to buy new clothes. I passed by happy families, couples, students, workers. Everyone had a place to go. Everyone had someone to meet, except me. I saw a park and walked toward it. It was quiet, peaceful. Trees swayed gently in the breeze. I sat on a bench, staring at the sky. I was free, but freedom felt heavy. The sun began to set. The sky turned pink, then orange, then dark. People left the park one by one, going home, going to sleep. I had nowhere to go, no bed to lie in, no roof above me. I wrapped my jacket around my body, but it didn't keep me warm. The wind grew cold. The city lights flickered in the distance. Then I heard footsteps. An older man with tired eyes and a gray beard walked up. He carried a small bag and wore 3 layers of clothes. He looked at me and nodded. "First night out?" he asked. I nodded slowly. He sat beside me. "You'll get used to it," he said. "The cold, the noise, the feeling that you don't exist." He opened his bag and pulled out a piece of bread. He broke it in half and handed one piece to me. I hesitated, then took it. "Thank you," I said quietly. We sat in silence, chewing the dry bread, the city buzzing all around us. "What did you do?" he asked. "Nothing," I whispered. "I was innocent." He nodded. "Me too." I didn't know if he was telling the truth, but in that moment it didn't matter. We were just 2 men under the stars, with nowhere to go. "Sleep if you can," he said. "Tomorrow will be another long day." I lay down on the cold bench. The sky above me was full of stars. I hadn't seen stars in years. In prison, the windows were too small. The walls were too thick. Now I could see them, but they didn't make me feel safe. Not yet. I closed my eyes. My first night of freedom was nothing like I had imagined. I woke up to the sound of birds. The bench beneath me was hard. My back ached, my hands were cold, but I was alive. The air smelled like grass, morning light, and something new. I sat up slowly, looking around the park. The old man from last night was gone. His bench was empty. No note, no goodbye. Maybe he had somewhere to go. Maybe he didn't. I didn't know. The city was just beginning to wake. Cars were humming down the road. People were rushing past, holding coffee cups and talking on phones. Shops were opening, lights flickering on one by one. It was like watching a movie from the outside, one I didn't know how to be part of anymore. My stomach growled. I had no breakfast, no coffee, just a few coins in my pocket and a long day ahead of me. I stood up, brushing dust off my old clothes. I didn't know where I was going. I just walked. After a few blocks, I smelled something sweet and warm. Bread. My feet moved toward the smell like they had a mind of their own. I saw a small bakery with steam rising from its open doors. A line of people stood outside, and I joined them. When it was my turn, the woman behind the counter looked at me. "What do you want?" she asked. Her voice was tired, not rude, not kind, just tired. I pointed at a piece of bread behind the glass. She told me the price. I pulled out my coins, almost all I had left, and gave them to her with shaking fingers. She handed me the bread without a word. I whispered, "Thank you." She didn't reply. I stepped outside and took a bite. It was warm, soft, slightly sweet, and to me, it was the best thing I had tasted in years. I stood on the sidewalk, chewing slowly, watching the world move around me. No one saw me. I was invisible again. Just a man with no phone, no home, no name anyone remembered. But I had something I hadn't had in 19 years. Choice. Even if it was only a choice between left or right, between walking or standing still, I kept moving. Down the street, something caught my eye, a newspaper lying on the ground. I picked it up. The pages were wrinkled and gray. I scanned the front page. The date, 19 years. That's how long I had lost. I read the headlines, but I didn't recognize the names, the faces, the stories. The world had changed. New leaders, new wars, new celebrities, new disasters, new heroes. And I had been part of none of it. I folded the paper and kept walking. I passed by clothing stores with windows full of bright mannequins, new jeans, new shoes, new jackets. I looked down at my own clothes, old, stiff, and far too small. I couldn't even remember what it felt like to wear something that fit. But I had no money left, so I turned away. As I wandered, I saw a man in a black suit standing near a building. He looked important, clean, tall, sharp. He was handing out papers. Some people stopped to take one. Others ignored him. Next to him was a small sign, "Help Wanted." I stopped and looked. He noticed me. "Looking for work?" he asked. I nodded. "What kind of experience do you have?" My lips parted, but no words came out. My last job was 20 years ago. The world had changed. Machines had changed. People had changed. But I didn't want to lie. "I can learn," I said, my voice soft but steady. He looked at me for a second, not judging, just thinking. Then he handed me a paper. "Come tomorrow," he said. "Warehouse job, lifting boxes, nothing fancy, but it's work." I nodded. "Thank you." I held the paper like it was a golden ticket, just a piece of paper, but to me it meant something bigger. It was a beginning, a tiny spark of light in a dark tunnel. I kept walking. My steps were faster now. My back still hurt. My stomach was still empty. But there was something else inside me now. Hope. I passed a small public restroom. I stepped inside. There was a cracked mirror above a sink. I leaned in and looked at myself. The face staring back was not one I recognized. My beard was long and wild. My hair hung over my ears. My eyes were tired, sunken, older than I remembered, but I was still there. I turned on the water and washed my face. The cold hit my skin like ice. I breathed in deeply, wiping myself dry with my sleeve. I combed my fingers through my hair, trying to feel human again. Then I walked out, back into the sun. The next morning, I returned to the warehouse. The building was wide and gray, like a sleeping beast. Trucks moved in and out. Men shouted to each other. Boxes were stacked high on pallets. The air smelled like oil and dust. I stood near the entrance, nervous. The man from yesterday saw me and walked over. "You're here," he said. I nodded. "Follow me." He led me inside. The floors were rough. The lights were bright. He pointed to a row of boxes. Move these to the other side, he said. That's it. It sounded simple, but after years of sitting in a cell, even lifting a box felt like a mountain. I bent down, picked up the first one. It was heavier than I thought. My arms trembled, my shoulders ached, my back screamed. But I didn't stop. Hour after hour, I worked. I sweated. I breathed hard. I kept moving. No one asked about my past. No one cared about what I had done or hadn't done. I wasn't a prisoner here. I wasn't a ghost. I was just a worker, just a man doing a job. And that felt good. When the day ended, the man handed me a small envelope. Your pay, he said. Not much, but it's a start. I held the envelope tightly in my hands. It was light, just a few bills, but it felt heavy with meaning. My first honest pay in 19 years. I stepped outside. The sky was orange. The sun was setting behind the buildings. My body was sore, but my heart was light. I had made it. One day, one honest day. I found a small second-hand clothing shop near the train station. I walked in, still in my prison clothes. The woman behind the counter looked at me with tired eyes. I showed her the money and pointed at a pair of jeans and a shirt. She nodded and said, "Try them on." I did. They weren't perfect, but they fit. For the first time in years, I felt like I was wearing my own skin again. I paid for the clothes and left my old ones behind. That night, I returned to the park. The same bench, the same stars. But something was different. I wasn't scared. I wasn't lost. I was just tired. I lay back and looked at the sky. The stars blinked above me like tiny promises. I closed my eyes and let sleep take me. The days passed. I worked every morning at the warehouse. It wasn't easy. My body protested every lift. My hands grew rough. My feet ached. But I kept going. And slowly things began to change. I found a local shelter that gave me hot meals and a place to wash. I learned how to use the buses. I bought a cheap phone. I opened a small bank account with the help of a kind volunteer. Each step felt like a mountain, but every time I reached the top, I found strength I didn't know I had. I was rebuilding, one block at a time. Some days were harder than others. Some nights, I still woke up shaking. Some mornings, I still felt like I didn't belong in this world. But then I would look at my hands, tired, dirty, strong, and remind myself I'm still here. I started to keep a notebook, just a small one. I wrote things I saw, thoughts I had. I wrote about the old man who gave me bread, about the cafe, about the first sandwich, about the mirror, about the first job. And I wrote about the future. Not a dream, not a plan, just a hope. One day, I walked past a school. Kids were running, laughing. One of them dropped a ball and it rolled toward me. I picked it up and handed it back. The boy smiled and said, "Thanks, mister." I smiled back. It was a small moment, but it stayed with me all day. That night I wrote, "The world may forget you, but it will also surprise you." And slowly I began to feel alive again. Not just free, alive. There are still challenges. Some people don't understand. Some give me strange looks when I speak slowly or ask for help. Some avoid me when they learn where I've been. But others treat me like a person, a human. And that's all I ever wanted, to be seen, to be heard, to be human. It's been weeks now since I walked out of that prison gate. I still don't have everything. I still sleep in shelters or parks. I still carry my life in a bag. But I have a job. I have clean clothes. I have people who know my name. I have a notebook filled with hopes. And I have something more powerful than anything else, a future. One I'm building with my own two hands, one day at a time. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories of resilience, strength, and second chances. Thank you for being here. And remember, even the darkest night ends with a sunrise.